Hello and welcome to another Baldur's Gate 3 build video. In today's video I'll be showing you my Dark Justiciar Cleric build. This build is a part 2 of a, I believe, series of 4 videos in which I'll be showing you my builds that are themed around Shar or being Dark Justiciar themed. So for the character creation, pick race, of course, as always, the one that you prefer. Though personally I think that Drow Elf would fit really well here. So for that reason, I went with Minthara for this example in this playthrough. For your first level, now this character build will be a multi-class of a cleric and a monk. So due to this reason, you'll have good mobility, you'll have extra attack, and you will make it so that your weapons actually scale with your dexterity, even though if some of them are not finesse. But anyway, you just need to have proficiency with them. Because as we know, any weapon that you are proficient with will count as a monk weapon, and being a monk weapon, it will use your dexterity for its attacks. So let's get into the first level. We are of course picking a cleric, as my suggestion would be, if you want to play this build throughout the game without too much respec, start as a cleric, play as a cleric until level 6, then multi-class into a monk. Or if of course you don't really care about that, you can respec later into this build whenever you wish. In my example, I played with, I believe it was Gale. He was my cleric until I got Minthara, and then I respec her. So for the first level, we're picking cleric, we're picking the domain of trickery. Now this is, I think, the weakest domain for the clerics in the game. It's not all that interesting or powerful. But I wanted to have at least one build that makes use out of the trickery domain and to where it makes it decent. And this, I hope it is. So for the cantrips, as always, guidance and resistance, two sort of must-have cantrips if you have a cleric in your party. For the third cantrip, you can pick your preference. I chose light here, but if this was my main character, I would probably take thaumaturgy. Gain advantage on intimidation and performance checks. This can help you quite a bit in dialogue situations. For your deity, of course, if we could pick Shar, I would suggest picking it here. But since we don't, just go with whoever you like, whichever the deities you like. Of course, as this is Minthara, I can't really pick anybody else except Lolth, because she is a Lothward Drow. For the background, this is a Minthara, she's an origin character. Well, origin character, she's a pre-made character, and I can't really pick her background. I would probably choose Guild Artisan, but since she's a noble, we're going to be sticking with this here. Now for our ability scores, we're going with 10 Strength, 17 Dexterity, 16 Constitution, 8 Intelligence, 14 Wisdom, and 8 Charisma. 10 Strength is here because I had 2 points left over. You can, if this is your main character, remove it from strength and put it into charisma, just so you have additional, so that you don't have a negative in dialogue. For dexterity, 17, we want, as this is a Dark Justiciar build, like I said, I think all 4 builds will utilize alert. Reason being, we want to start first so that we can start setting up darkness on the battlefield. 17 dexterity will help us with that, higher initiative, but also because we will be a monk multi-class, our weapons will use dexterity as its modifier, so we want high dexterity, as we'll use our weapons to fight, not just our spells. Then 16 constitution, reason being high health, and we also have a higher chance to save concentration saves on our concentration spells. From our equipment, we will get advantage of this, so this build will not require Warcaster, which is nice to have. 14 wisdom, relatively low wisdom for a cleric, which is fine, because even if an enemy does save against our main damaging spell, which is Spirit Guardians, we still deal damage to them, but we will later increase this to 16, so we will have, I believe it will be like 20 constitution, 20 dexterity, 16 constitution, and 16 wisdom. Alright, now, so to get into the rest of the levels, at level 2, we unlock Turn Undead as a cleric, and we unlock Invoke Duplicity. Unlock Duplicity is not the worst channel divinity ever, it's not the best either. Distract your enemies with an illusion. Within 3 meters of the illusion, attack rolls have advantage for you and your allies. Both the attacker and the creature must be within 3 meters of the illusion. So, this can come in handy if you're bottlenecking enemies, but the issue with these illusion is that has, well, I think only 1 HP, so if it gets hit, it will essentially disappear, and you will lose that advantage. But if enemies ignore it, and it stays where it is around you and your enemies, then it can be really useful to have advantage. But for our spells, at level 2, I would suggest taking Healing Word, Bless, Sanctuary, Shield of Faith. Healing Word, really good for applying a certain buffs and topping off your allies' health. These buffs I'm talking about is you can get it from a ring, which is a 2 turns Bless, or Blade Ward from Hailraider's Pride. Bless, self-explanatory, 1d bonus to attack rolls and save throws, up to 3 creatures. If you cast this as a level 2 spell, it's 4 creatures, so your entire party. Always great to have spell. Sanctuary, amazing spell that is going to be useful for saving certain NPCs or your characters. You or your ally cannot be targeted until you attack or harm a creature. You can still take damage from area spells. So, what this is great about, there's a really useful use for this spell in Act 1 at the coast where the harpies are, with the child that you have to save there. If you put Sanctuary on the child before the combat starts, he will be essentially completely free, because children in Baldur's Gate 3, they cannot attack, so he's going to be safe. Now, why safe? He can die easily there if he gets charmed by the Song of the Harpy, and if he triggers opportunity attacks. With Sanctuary, you completely nullify this, and he should be 100% safe. And then for that spell, Shield of Faith, just a +2 armor class, as long as you maintain concentration. Level 3, we unlock our second level spells. We gain access to Mirror Image and Pass Without Trace here. Pass Without Trace can be situationally useful. Example, let's say you have a wizard who multiclassed with a rogue for some reason, and he has high stealth to begin with. You somehow give him, either with armor or with a certain weapon, bonus to stealth checks. This, plus his rogue levels, plus the advantage, you can essentially guarantee that character will remain invisible with greater invisibility forever. Like for the whole 10 turns, for a whole battle. So situationally this can be pretty great. Also, I'm sure you could probably finesse this with like crouching in obscured areas, especially if you have bonus like advantage to stealth. So it would require some further testing. It could be good, but again, very situational. Mirror Image, overall a pretty good spell. It gives you a flat +3 armor, and every time an opponent misses you with an attack, you lose one of the 3 images. For the race, this is why we picked Drow. Fairy Fire. Enemies that fail to save, they attacks against them have advantage. Also, we can work on allies, so you have to be aware of that. But later, as a Drow, we will get Darkness spell, which I will get into when we get there. Now, for the level 2 spell, I would take either Enhanced Ability or Warding Bond, or maybe even the Spiritual Weapon. Also, Silence can be useful too. But since you're a cleric, you can always switch these around at will. You don't need to wait for a level up. At level 4, we unlock Conditional Cantrip. Here, pick whichever one you don't have, which one you want. It doesn't really matter. You already have the best ones from the character creation. For the second level spell, we're going to take Warding Bond. Really nice to put on your squishy wizards and rogues. For our first feat, we're of course going ability improvement, and we'll actually put it into Wisdom. Why Wisdom? Well, Wisdom because we just want to get that little bit higher spell save DC on our spells, namely the Spirit Guardians. Dexterity, we will get it to 19 or 20 depending on if you take Auntie Ethel's Hair. If you take Auntie Ethel's Hair, you will get it to 18, and if you take the Mirror of Loss, you will get it to 20, but without the Auntie's Hair, it will be 19, which is fine. We can carry on. Level 5, We unlock our 3rd level spells, plus our Turn Undead also deals 4 to 22 radiant damage. For our Trigger Domain spells, we get Bestow Curse. Curse a creature with a touch. The curse either bestows disadvantage or checks or saving throws or attacks, lets you deal additional damage to the target, or robs it of its actions. A interesting spell, which is rather... it's bad. I wish it was better, because some of the effects there, you can see, they're pretty good. But yeah, it's not that amazing. You probably won't be using this all that much. Fear, though, can be pretty useful. Targets drop everything and become fearful. They have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. This can be rather quite handy. But this is where our sort of bread and butter is. Spirit Guardians, very important to take. And for the rest of these, you can choose your preference. I would probably take something like Remove Curse or switch it up always. With a warding can be nice, so I will be staying with this setup. Though, of course, we'll be pretty much using all 3rd level spells for Spirit Guardians anyway. Level 6, we unlock Channel Divinity Cloak of Shadows. Wrap yourself in the shadows to become invisible if you are obscured. For 2 turns, it can be nice. I believe it works while you're concentrating, because this is not a concentration spell, but otherwise, not all that great. Since you're in darkness anyway, you should be safe from like majority of the enemies in the game. And for our last spell, you could honestly take Command. Command is nice. It works on pretty much everybody except the undead, I believe. So I will stick with Command. You could take something like Aid, Calm Emotions, Spiritual Weapon, Silence, or even Blindness. Though we'll get Silence from our multiclass, which is at level 7. So at level 7, we are going to multiclass into a Monk. This will give us Flurry of Blows, Key Points, and some other features. We will not utilize most of them because we will not be able to utilize, for example, Unarmored Defense. But at level 8, we're a level 2 Monk. We gain our bonus action Step of the Wind, Dash, and Disengage, and we get Patient Defense. This can work really well with one of the helmets that deals radiant damage when an enemy misses us and they fail a dexterity save. But regardless, at level 9, we'll pick our subclass, and here I would suggest Way of the Shadow. Amazing synergy with this for us because it gives us Silence, Dark Vision, which isn't really important, but it gives us Darkness. We're able to create a Dark Shroud that heavily obscures and blinds creatures within. Creatures cannot make range attacks into it or out of it. We are going to be completely immune to the effects of this spell because of one of our rings, or if we use Shar's Spear of Evening. But we will get into that later in the items and combat section. We also get another one of these Pass Without Trace spells, which I guess we'll have versatility with either spell slots or key points. We also get Shadow Art's Hide, so a bonus action hide, which is rather nice. And a cantrip, we get Minor Illusion, which can be useful if you want to distract somebody. At level 10, we get our second feat, and we get Slow Fall, resistance to falling damage. But for our second feat and last feat, we will take Alert. This gives us +5 initiative, and we can't be surprised, ensuring that we start first pretty much always. Level 11, we get our extra attack, we get Stunning Strike both melee and unarmed, and we get another Cloak of Shadows. Though this Cloak of Shadows is actually better than the one that the clerics get. This one lasts for 10 turns and it doesn't cost a Channel Divinity point or key points. It is just a free action you can use. And finally, at level 12, we get something we really wanted to get to begin with. The Shadow Stab. Teleport from shadow to shadow. Afterwards, you have advantage on your next melee attack roll. An amazing bonus action mobility spell, or an action, if of course you are in shadow and you are transporting or teleporting to another shadow. On top of that, our unarmed attacks are counting as magical, though we will not be using them all that much. Alright, let's get into the equipments for this build. But before that, actually, let's get into some of the things that you can wear if you decide to play this as a cleric from the beginning. So, important headgear, Vampira's Crown. When healing another wearer gains. When healing another, the wearer regains 1d6 hit points. A pretty good self-sustain headpiece, which has great synergy with the amulet, the Pripyat of Wound Closure. When down, you automatically stabilize at the start of your turn, and you heal for the maximum number of hit points whenever you are healed. Essentially, if you drink a potion of superior healing, you heal for 40 every time, instead of rolling to see how much you heal. For the gloves, of course, Heller's Blight. Whenever you heal somebody, that creature gains effects of Blade Ward. Then Ring of Salving. When you heal somebody, you restore additional 2 hit points. The Whispering Promise. When you heal a creature, it gains the benefits of Bless for 2 turns. Finally, the Staff of Arcane Blessing. This staff essentially doubles the effects of Bless, plus granting the Bless spell additional 2d4 bonus to spell attack rolls. And it gives you 1 Bless spell per long rest, which is okay. Now, for the actual equipment that you will wear after you deal with the Night Song and, let's say, Shadowheart becomes a Dark Justiciar. For the helmet, I went with the Helm of Baldur. Your helmet heals you for 2 hit points at the beginning of every turn. You have +1 bonus to armor class and saving throws. You can't be stunned, and the attackers can't land critical hits on the wearer. Overall, an amazing helmet. Generally, I don't know what helmet to wear, you can wear this, unless, of course, you're not proficient with medium armor. For some of the alternatives, early to late game, so to say, you can wear the Spell Shade Circlet. If the wearer is obscured, their spells gain +1 bonus to spell save DC, making them more likely to succeed. If you want more spell save DC, Holy Lance Helm. Creatures who miss their attack rolls against the wearer must make a dexterity saving throw or take 1d4 radiant damage. Then, of course, if you wish to have the effects of the original Dark Justiciar helmet, you can wear the Covert Cowl. While obscured, the number you need to roll a critical hit is reduced by 1. The Dark Justiciar helmet does the same thing, except it also has the benefits of additional +1 to saving throws against spells. But odds are, if you're running this build, you will probably have the Dark Justiciar helmet on Shadowheart. And then if, just for the sake of the drip, you want to wear something, you can always wear the Shard's headwear, which you find in the Shard headquarters in Act 3. Generally, okay helmet. It gives you Constitution saving throws +1, so it's not just cosmetic, it does give you a little bit of a benefit as well. For the cloak, I went with the Cloak of Protection, armor class +1 and saving throws +1. Simple cloak, very useful. If you don't know what else to wear, you can also just not wear any cloaks. Cloaks aren't generally all that important, most of the time. For the armor, we are going with the Dark Justiciar Halfplate. While obscured, the wearer has advantage on stealth checks. You gain advantage on Constitution saving throws or saving throw checks, and you gain Shard Aegis, which is essentially the Shield of Faith. This is a very important piece of the equipment, as it grants us advantage on saving throws, Constitution saving throws, so this means we do not need Warcaster feat. While obscured, wearer has advantage on stealth checks. It can be useful if you want to play around with stealth, since you do have a bonus action hide, so you can do that if you wish. The more rare version of this armor is not really necessary. You would probably give this to Shadowheart anyway. The only difference is the rarer version, while the wearer has Shield of Faith active, reduce all incoming damage by 2 and reflect the damage received back to the attacker who takes 1d4 necrotic damage. That's generally the only difference, so it's not that big of a deal if you do not use the very rare version. You can't even get this very rare version of this armor unless Shadowheart sides with Shard. For the gloves, we're going with Dark Justiciar Gauntlets. Your weapon attacks deal additional 1d4 necrotic damage, and you gain Beckoning Darkness spell. Creates a creature to be haunted by darkness. It takes 2d8 necrotic damage if it enters or starts its turn in lightly or heavily obscured area. A really good spell for you to utilize your bonus actions for, unless you are not using your shadow step, right? So a nice way to deal additional damage against creatures who are standing in darkness. Of course, alternative, you could use Dark Justiciar Gauntlets. You would use these if you give the rare version to somebody else, for example Shadowheart, but I found that with the Shadowheart I'm dual wielding, and I prefer just having this bonus 1d4, and I wasn't using Beckoning Darkness all that much, so I decided to swap between Shadowheart and my Dark Justiciar Cleric, who got actually quite a bit more use out of the Beckoning Darkness. For the boots, we're going with the Boots of Striding. When you cast a spell that requires concentration, you gain momentum for 1 turn, and while you're concentrating, you can get knocked prone or be moved against your will. An amazing pair of boots because they increase your speed, while also you cannot be knocked prone or moved against your will. So when you activate Spirit Guardians, you are essentially very sticky, very hard to lose, because enemies can't push you, they can knock you prone, so they just kind of have to deal with you standing there, debuffing them and making them slow because of the Spirit Guardians effect. For some of the alternatives, you could use, of course, the basic shoes, +1 armor class, acrobatics +1, decent pair of boots, Space Hunt boots, sorry. They give you a Dimension Door for, I believe, once per long rest. Decent boots, not that amazing. Boots of Uninhibited Kushigo, you can actually use these to increase the damage of your unarmed strikes if you do actually end up using them, namely the Flurry of Blows and the bonus action Unarmed Strike. As always, Disintegrating Nightwalkers, amazing piece of boots, giving you Misty Step, and you can't be enwebbed, entangled, ensnared, and you can't slip on grease on ice. Then Black Guard's Greaves, if you don't really have any other boots to give to this character, or you really want Long Strider. And then, of course, Dark Justiciar boots. Honestly, you're a Shadow Monk already, well, multi-class. You do not need these, because this Shadow Teleport is actually worse. This Shadow Teleport only teleports you to unoccupied obscured spot for an action. No bonus, no advantage on your next attack, if you look here. So yeah, these are worse than the actual Shadow Monk ability. But regardless, for the amulet, we're going with the Amulet of the Devout. You gain a +2 bonus to spell save DC. You gain additional use of Channel Divinity. Once used, it is restored upon taking a long rest. This is here mainly to give us a higher spell save DC, and so that we get an additional use of Channel Divinity. For our ring, we are going with the very important Eversight ring, Blindness Immunity. The wearer cannot be blinded. This is where this is the piece of equipment that makes this build very useful, very powerful, or not powerful, but makes it work. That's the word I was looking for. Because when you cast darkness and you enter darkness, it will not blind you. Of course, the alternative for this effect is the Sharp Speed of Evening, but odds are you'll probably give this to Shadowheart anyway, so you would probably just stick with the ring. For a second ring, the Shadow Cloaked Ring, the wearer's weapon and unarmed attacks deal additional 1d4 damage against lightly or heavily obscured creatures, and creatures made of shadow. A good ring for bonus damage against creatures who are lightly or heavily obscured. For some of the alternatives, you could use the Ring of Protection, Armor Class and Saving Throws +1, Acoustic Band, additional damage increase, Ring of Mental Inhibition. If enemies fail a saving throw against one of your spell or attacks, they gain Mental Inhibition. Mental Inhibition is one of those effects that can stack, or conditions that can stack, and at 5 stacks, enemies takes 1d4 psychic damage. But this is kind of a condition that it's better off not proccing, because it gives them -1 penalty to Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma saving throws for every turn remaining. So at the maximum you can have it to -4, which makes it so they have -4 chance of succeeding saves. And then for the last ring that you can take is the Ring of Twilight, if you really want. You gain +1 bonus to Armed Class or Obscured. This is generally not an amazing ring, but if you don't have anything better, you can wear this. For the weapons, we're going with the Justiciar Scimitar. If you attack with advantage, you have a chance of blinding your target, and it's a +2 enchantment weapon. On top of that, it gives you the Shadow Soaked Blow. Strike an enemy, adding your proficiency bonus to the damage. Moreover, if the attack hits, it deals additional 1d6 psychic damage. This attack doesn't break concealment. An okay bonus attack for a short rest, nothing too special. But this effect, if you have advantage, you have a chance of blind target, is very useful, though it is unfortunate because I think it is bugged with the Shadow Step, so it doesn't work with the advantage you get from the Shadow Step, as I haven't noticed enemies rolling the save. So it doesn't roll the save for the enemies, or it doesn't proc in generally with it. Now, I'm not sure if the Shadow Step is causing it to bug out, or if the Scimitar is bug out. But what is nice about this Scimitar is it doesn't say it's a Scimitar here. Because if you look at the spear, for example, it says this weapon is a spear. But the Dark Justiciar Scimitar, it's neither. So generally this weapon should be, you should be proficient no matter who you give it to. Everybody should have proficiency with it, which is what makes it actually quite nice. Again, for alternative, you could use Shar Spear of Evening. But again, odds are you probably have given this to Shadowheart. But if you do use the Shar Speed of Evening, you gain advantage on saving throws while lightly or heavily obscured. This weapon deals additional 1d6 damage to creatures that are lightly or heavily obscured. It gives you blindness to immunity, enchantment +3, and it gives you Shar's Darkness per turn. So this also can be useful. For a shield, we're going with the Justiciar Great Shield. When a foe hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to knock it prone unless they succeed at dexterity saving throw. Generally a normal ability for most of the magical shields you find, but this one gives you the Darkness Cloak. Create a cloud of magical darkness and immediately attempt to hide. The darkness persists for 2 turns. This can be useful if you need a darkness as a bonus action, right? So you get an advantage. Otherwise, yeah, this shield, there are better shields, of course, than this one. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention advantage on perception checks. It's not all that important, but there are better shields, of course. But for the sake of theming, we're going with, of course, the Justiciar Great Shield. And finally, for our ranged weapon, we're going with the least expected. While obscured in shadow, the wielder has 1d4 bonus to their ranged weapon attacks. And this weapon gives you the Blinding Shot. Weave the lost magic of the Children of the Deep Dwera into your shot and possibly blind your target. Okay special attack. Since if you are using ranged weapons, and since we have high dexterity, this character will be able to utilize this bow quite well. And of course, we're using arrows of darkness on this character as well to spread darkness at a range. Alright, so that is it regarding the equipment. I will see you now in Battle Showcase. So here we are again in the Flaming Fist Barracks for another Battle Showcase. So with this character, if you're first, then you would probably want to set up darkness and the scene for your other Dark Justiciar characters. But let's say in this case, Shadowheart went first, so she already set up a small pocket of darkness for herself. She got rid of the annoying wizard. So now we get to our cleric. If you're not first, then you don't set up darkness, or you're not concentrating on the pass without trace, well, let's say silence, we're instead going to activate our spirit guardians. And while we're at that, we're gonna walk up here inside our darkness spell while doing damage, and we can use our beckoning darkness. Now we're going to target one of the characters. And to show you the rolls for this spell, I believe the spell save DC is a flat amount. You cannot increase or decrease it. Alright, we succeeded there. So let's look at the roll. Here it is. DC 14. So it's always 14. It doesn't matter what your spell save DC is, because if you look here, ours is 17. For the Beckoning Darkness, it is always 14, which is a shame. It would be a lot better if it's scaled with your spellcasting modifier. So because we're a cleric and we have a +3, it would be nice if this was a 17 as well. But since it is not, it's gonna not succeed as often. But if you end up doing it like me and you get Minthara, you can also just then use soul branding. Bestow the absolute flames on a creature, its movement speed is increased by 1.5 meters, and its next attack deals additional 3 to 9 damage. You can do that, but after this turn end, depending on who's rise or not, if you have dangerous enemies, you could do stunning strikes, or if you need more darkness, you can use darkness cloak as a bonus action. You can shoot arrows of darkness, etc. Right? So generally, be annoying. Try to get the characters into the Spirit Guardians, spread darkness, and support your Dark Justiciar character. But generally, that is it for this build. I hope you enjoyed. I would appreciate if you like and subscribed. If you have any questions down below in the comments, feel free to post them. If you have any suggestions, that will also be appreciated. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed and have a good one.